Hi guys and welcome back to my channel. Now today we're gonna take a look at a very interesting endgame played by Vladimir Kramnik and Leko. And they got into this position. Now white is better here because as you can see black has some weaknesses here, some weak pawns, and also his bishop is pretty bad because this pawn on d5 is really limiting him, and of course white's pieces are more active. These two rooks are better than black's rooks, which are doing nothing at the moment. And I want you to think about what would you do in this position as white. Well, it looks like white just has a free pawn here to take, but Kramnik actually didn't take it. Now let's see why. If he just took the pawn, then black would play bishop to c6, attacking the rook, and now after we exchange a pair of rooks, you can see that now we have a weakness here, and black's pieces are suddenly activated. As you can see, this rook is attacking the pawn, this bishop is really better now than it was before, and as white you just destroyed your winning chances. So that's why it's crucial to prevent enemy counterplay and don't just take the pawn and allow him to activate his pieces. So Kramnik played bishop to e2 in this position. Now the idea is maybe to transfer this bishop here to f3 to attack this pawn here on d5, and also to open the rank for the rook to start attacking the pawns. So this was a good move by Kramnik. And now if Peter played something like bishop to c6, defending the pawn, then just rook to b3 would win this pawn. He can't protect the pawn, so he doesn't want to do this, and he played bishop to e6, intending to protect his b6 pawn with his rook. But now another very nice idea by Kramnik. He sees that the opponent's bishop is actually preventing his rooks from penetrating, from taking action on the file, and it's also nicely protecting this pawn on d5. So that's why he played f4. He of course wants to play f5 and get rid of this bishop out of this, e6 square. And black of course prevented this with the move g6. Bishop to d3, and Kramnik created a small tactic here, because if you do, if you do something, then just bishop takes here is a tactic. After you recapture, we take the bishop. Yeah, that's not possible for black. That's why he played just bishop to c8 back, getting rid of any of these tactics. But now, since this bishop moved, we can penetrate with our rooks to the 7th rank. So now Leko played king to g7, and now a very important move by Kramnik, again stopping enemy counterplay. Well, here instead of king to g7, Peter should have played rook to d7, exchanging one pair of rooks. It would be really easier to defend like that, because these two rooks are just putting too much pressure on black, so it would be a great idea to exchange one. But since he played king to g7 in this position, Kramnik had the chance to play bishop to b5. Now, this move is just preventing any offers of exchanges with the rook to d7, or I don't know, sometimes maybe rook here. It just paralyzed black's position. So now after king to f6, we can see rook to c7. This rook here might come to the 7th rank at the right moment. So here white has complete domination. As I said, black can't do anything, because, if you just think about it, what is black going to do here now? He has nothing. He can just move his rook there and there and there. He doesn't have anything smart to do. So he played rook to d6 here and rook to c3, attacking the bishop, and rook went back. Now Kramnik played rook to e3, just getting some time on the clock, and again, rook to d6. Black would of course be very happy with a draw, but white is of course not going to go for a draw in this position, just a4. Another very important principle in the endgame: do not hurry. Because in the opening and the middle game, you usually want to be quick and hurry, because, in the opening you want to develop your pieces as quickly as possible, but now in the end game, things are different. Often when you have an advantage, your opponent doesn't have much to do. So you have all the time in the world to do whatever you want to make your position better and prepare for the final strike. So here, black just played rook to d8. What can he do? Now which piece needs improvement in white's camp. It's the king. So white plays king to f2, we can see rook to d6, and g4. White is again trying to create some more weaknesses, because as you can see, black is defending his weaknesses pretty well now. White can't just win them by force, so that's why he just tries to create some new weaknesses on the king side. So now, after rook to d8, king to g3, g5, and f5, further restricting black's pieces, taking even more space. And now after h5, it's not a problem. Now the other rook comes to this 7th rank. Takes, and king to g7. Now black of course has only a few moves available to him. If you look closely, he can't move the rook because it's protecting this pawn. He can't move the bishop because it's protecting this pawn. He can't move the pawns, of course. He can just move his king there, and his rook here and here. So yeah, it's really a terrible position for black, because white played very accurately and didn't allow him any counterplay. But still, you need to get a final plan on how to break black's position. And okay, Kramnik here played king to f3, and the idea is basically, because you have all the time in the world, to move your king all the way here to the queen side, and then attack these pawns here, these weaknesses. So let's see how it went. Now black played king to f6, we can see king to e3, king moves, king comes closer, king again moves to f6, king to c3, king to g7, king to g4, king to f6, and now king to a3. Now here white realized that okay, he can't come closer with the king because this pawn is preventing him, and also this pawn, sorry, also this pawn. So that's why he had an idea in mind to play g4 and h5, remove this pawn, so then he can come there with his king and just attack this pawn, or just attack this pawn maybe here, and just win them. b4, wait, did I say g4 before? g4, b4, so forget it. So white played b4 with the idea, of course, of a5, and after king to f6, a5. Now black took the pawn, white recaptured, and now, as you can see, after king to g7, black can't do anything, and white is just going to move his king to this c5 square, king to f6, king to c5. And now after king to g7, white just has to find a way to attack this pawn here, this weakness, one more time, or even this weakness. And Kramnik decided to play bishop to e2 and attack the pawn from this side, and then just win the game. So now black finally got the chance to exchange one pair of rooks, but it's a bit too late, I can say, because white exchanges the rooks, and then after bishop to f3, how are you going to protect this pawn? I don't know. You're not going to protect it, and black here resigned the game. So really a stunning performance by Vladimir Kramnik. As you can see, at the start of the game, or at the start of this endgame, he prevented enemy counterplay. He didn't take the pawn and allow him to just activate his pieces and attack our weakness. So he first improved the position of his pieces, and then after black had to defend his pawns, he tries to get rid of this piece here, and then yeah, just like we saw, he improved his position and used the principle of the endgame, which is to be calm and do not hurry. So yeah, I really hope that you liked this endgame. It was a really instructive one. I think it had many useful principles that you can use in the endgame. And if you would like to see more videos like this, more endgames, please subscribe to my channel, and yeah, have a nice day, and I'll see you in the next video.